For years, viewers watched Sister Wives with a lingering sense that something wasn't adding up. The houses didn't make sense. The power didn't make sense. The sacrifices didn't feel evenly shared. While one wife lived behind the gates of a sprawling mansion, others bounced between rentals, temporary homes, and eventually even an RV. Fans argued, speculated, and were told they were wrong. They were told it was jealousy. They were told it was bitterness. They were told they didn't understand the family's finances. And for a long time, the truth stayed buried. Until now. Because in January 2026, Meri Brown finally said the one sentence that detonated the entire narrative. The sentence she had been asked never to say. The truth she had consented to keep quiet. And once she said it, everything changed. It didn't start as a confession. It started as an accusation. As it always does with Kody Brown. When the topic of finances came up during the January 2026 Sister Wives tell-all, Kody didn't hesitate. He didn't pause. He didn't reflect. He went straight on the attack. Sitting across from host Sukanya Krishnan, Kody claimed Meri had demanded all the money from the sale of her Las Vegas house. He framed her as selfish, greedy, unreasonable. According to him, Meri wanted the full proceeds while still expecting her share of Coyote Pass. He insisted their divorce decree was clear, 50-50, and he made sure the implication landed hard. Meri was trying to take more than she deserved. It was a familiar strategy. Lie first, attack first, control the narrative before anyone else gets a chance to speak. But this time, something was different, because Meri wasn't alone, and she wasn't willing to protect the lie anymore. When Sukanya turned to Meri and asked her about the Las Vegas house, the energy shifted. Meri didn't raise her voice. She didn't lash out. She calmly dismantled Kody's story piece by piece. She explained that she never fought him over the equity, even though she was the only one who lived in that house for most of the time. Even though she paid the mortgage. Even though, by any reasonable standard, the house was hers. She admitted that yes, it would have made sense for her to keep it. But she didn't. Because his name was on the paperwork. Because that's what plural families do. You share. You sacrifice. You don't rock the boat. Then she said something that stopped the conversation cold. She revealed that the money Kody claimed she demanded had already been given away. Not half of it. Not some of it. All of it. The equity from her Las Vegas home didn't go into her pocket. It didn't go into savings. It didn't help her buy a home in Flagstaff. It went directly to Robyn Brown. That was the loan I gave to purchase Robyn's house in Flagstaff, Meri said. The silence was immediate. Sukanya looked stunned. And then Jen Sullivan, sitting beside Meri, leaned in and clarified what needed no clarification at all. Every penny. And that's when Meri delivered the line that redefined the entire family history. She explained that this was something she had consented to never talk about. Let that sink in. Consent implies a request, a pressure. And understanding that silence was expected. And Meri kept that silence for years. She protected it. She absorbed the consequences of it. She let herself be judged, mocked, and portrayed as difficult while the truth stayed hidden. Until Kody broke the agreement by lying about her on national television. That moment wasn't just a revelation. It was a rupture. Because once you understand where Meri's money went, everything else finally makes sense. Why she never owned a home in Flagstaff. Why she stayed in rentals year after year. Why Robyn lived in a mansion while Meri rebuilt nothing. This wasn't poor planning. It wasn't bad luck. It was design. Meri purchased her Las Vegas home in 2013 for just over $447,000. 5 years later, she sold it for nearly $575,000. After fees and closing costs, her estimated net proceeds were around $115,000. That money should have been her safety net, her fresh start, her leverage. Instead, every dollar was handed over to help Robyn secure an $890,000 Flagstaff mansion. A house Meri never lived in. A house her name was never added to. A house that would go on to build massive equity for only two people, Kody and Robyn. And Meri wasn't the only one. Janelle Brown did the same thing. She sold her Vegas home for around $600,000 and contributed approximately $300,000 toward Robyn's house. So while Meri gave everything, Janelle gave half. And together, they handed over roughly $415,000 to Robyn. That money formed the backbone of the down payment. Without it, the mansion never happens. So, here's the question that changes everything. If Meri and Janelle funded the house, whose names were on the deed, not theirs, only Kody and Robyn. They purchased the home in August 2019 with a 25% down payment, $222,500. Money sourced from Meri's equity, from Janelle's equity, from family funds that everyone contributed to. And yet the ownership was exclusive. The benefits were exclusive. The wealth accumulation was exclusive. Over the next 5 years, that house skyrocketed in value. By the time Kody and Robyn listed it in 2024, it was worth approximately $1.65 million. That's a gain of more than $760,000. Wealth created by money that wasn't theirs to begin with. Wealth built on the sacrifices of women who would never see a return. Meanwhile, Meri rented, year after year, paying someone else's mortgage, building nothing. Janelle rented, then lived in an RV on undeveloped land with no running water, no sewage, no stability. Christine bought her own home with what Kody later tried to claim was his and Robyn's money, but which was actually pulled from the family account. And Robyn lived comfortably behind closed doors in a mansion she didn't pay for. When fans noticed, they were gaslit, told they didn't understand, told it was jealousy, told it was bitterness. But it wasn't. It was math. It was public record. It was receipts hiding in plain sight. And Meri defended it. For years, she defended it. She went on camera and said this was just how the family worked together. That she didn't mind renting. That everyone helped everyone. But that statement only holds weight if the help flows both ways. And it didn't. It never did. Robyn never sold a home and handed the proceeds to Meri. Robyn never sacrificed equity so Janelle could build wealth. Robyn entered the family with debt and walked away with security. And Meri gave everything and stayed quiet. Because that was the deal. Until it wasn't. Because once Kody accused her of greed, the silence became pointless. The protection became pointless. The agreement was broken. And Meri finally said the words that Kody and Robyn had built their entire financial narrative around preventing. And once those words were spoken, there was no going back. The more Meri talked, the more the illusion cracked. Because once you accept that her money built Robyn's house, you can't unsee the rest of it. You start asking the questions viewers were trained not to ask. Where did Janelle end up after giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars? Why was one wife accumulating wealth while another was losing basic stability? And why did no one ever seem comfortable answering those questions on camera? The answers were always vague. The explanations always circular. Until the RV entered the story. And suddenly, the cost of this family culture became impossible to ignore. Janelle Brown did everything right by the rules she was given. She worked consistently. She contributed to the family account. She raised 6 children. She bought a home in Las Vegas, built equity, and then did exactly what she was expected to do when the family decided to move again. She sold it. And instead of using that money to secure her own future in Flagstaff, she handed roughly $300,000 over to help buy Robyn's mansion. Not because it benefited her. Not because her name would be on the deed. But because she believed the story she'd been told for decades. That they were building something together. That sacrifice would be rewarded later. That Coyote Pass was the future. What she got instead was an RV. Not a temporary solution. Not a stopgap. A full-time living arrangement on raw land with no infrastructure. No running water. No sewage. No certainty. While Robyn lived in an $890,000 house with walls, insulation, and security, Janelle was hauling water and dealing with generators. And still, the narrative insisted everything was equal. Still, Kody claimed this was a choice. Still, viewers were told Janelle preferred it this way. But preferences don't explain why a woman who contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to someone else's home couldn't afford one of her own. And the more Janelle talked during the tell-alls, the clearer it became that this wasn't accidental. It was structural. Because while Robyn's home was framed as a family investment, the benefits were locked behind two names. And while the future was always described as Coyote Pass, that future never arrived. The land sat untouched. No houses were built. No shared dream materialized. The promise of later was used to justify inequality now, over and over again. And then there was the money pool. For years, Kody insisted that certain purchases came from his and Robyn's funds, that they were the generous ones, that they helped the other wives. But Janelle quietly dismantled that myth. She clarified that the down payment for Christine's Flagstaff home didn't come from Kody and Robyn personally. It came from the family account, the same account Meri, Janelle, and Christine had been paying into for years. The same account Robyn benefited from far more than she contributed to. That revelation matters because it exposes how language was used to manipulate perception. My money didn't mean earned money. It meant controlled money. Money that passed through Kody's hands before being redistributed in ways that favored Robyn. The wives who worked and sacrificed were invisible in the retelling. The wife who benefited became the hero. And then there's Coyote Pass itself. When the land was purchased in 2018 for over $800,000, it was presented as a shared vision, a fresh start. But from the beginning, the paperwork told a different story. Kody's name was on every parcel. Robyn's name appeared more often than Meri's or Janelle's. The power imbalance wasn't accidental. It was baked into the ownership structure. And the money that paid for the land didn't come from Robyn. It came from the same pooled resources the other wives had been contributing to long before Robyn entered the family. By the time Coyote Pass finally sold in 2025 for $1.5 million, the damage had already been done. Years of waiting, years of stagnation, years of financial paralysis. And when the proceeds were finally divided, Kody and Robyn walked away with $750,000. Meri and Janelle split the remaining half, $375,000 each. On paper, it looked equal. In reality, it wasn't even close. Because Meri had already given away $115,000 to Robyn. Because Janelle had already given away $300,000. Because both women had paid rent for years while Robyn built equity. Because both women lost time they could never get back. When you subtract rent alone, Meri's actual financial gain from the entire Flagstaff era shrinks dramatically. Conservative estimates put her rent at around $1,500 a month. Over 7 years, that's more than $120,000 gone. Money that built someone else's wealth. Money that erased the benefit of her Coyote Pass payout almost entirely. And still, Kody called her greedy. That word matters. Greedy. It was weaponized. Used to shame her into silence. Used to justify taking from her while giving her nothing in return. Used to flip the narrative so that the woman who sacrificed the most became the villain for finally wanting fairness. And when Meri refused to play along anymore, the pressure escalated. That's when the NDAs appeared. As the Coyote Pass sale moved forward, Robyn demanded that Meri and Janelle sign non-disclosure agreements. Legal documents designed to prevent them from talking about the sale, about the finances, about anything Robyn didn't want exposed. And suddenly, everything clicked. The secrecy, the silence, the years of deflection. This wasn't about privacy. It was about control. Meri said no. She said she wouldn't be silenced again. Again. That word carried weight, because it confirmed what many suspected, that the first silence wasn't voluntary in the way it had been framed. That her consent had come with expectations, pressure, consequences. And this time, she refused to comply. The sale stalled. Tensions exploded. And eventually, Kody and Robyn backed down. Not because they wanted to, but because they needed the money. And once the NDAs failed, the truth followed close behind. Because the only thing more dangerous than a woman who's been silenced is a woman who has nothing left to lose. And Meri had reached that point. By the time the NDAs entered the conversation, the story was no longer just about money. It was about power. Because money alone doesn't explain why one wife would be expected to give everything while another never had to give anything at all. Power explains that. Control explains that. And once you start viewing the family through that lens, Robyn's role comes into focus in a way it never had before. Not as a bystander, not as a passive participant, but as the primary beneficiary of a system that worked exactly as it was designed to. Robyn didn't accidentally end up in the mansion. She didn't unknowingly benefit from other women's sacrifices. She accepted the money. She lived in the house. She watched Meri rent. She watched Janelle struggle. And she did nothing to correct the imbalance. No offer to add their names to the deed. No insistence on shared ownership. No acknowledgement on camera that the house wasn't really hers. She let the narrative stand that she and Kody had somehow earned it. And when fans pushed back, she cried. She positioned herself as the victim. But victims don't demand NDAs. Victims don't quietly accept hundreds of thousands of dollars from people who end up with nothing. And then there's the emotional machinery that made all of this possible. Meri didn't hand over her equity because she was careless. She handed it over because she was desperate. For years, Kody withheld affection from her. No intimacy. No emotional connection. No reassurance that she mattered. But he never fully let her go either. He kept her suspended in hope, in just enough access to believe that if she proved herself again, if she sacrificed again, maybe things would change. That's the kind of emotional leverage that turns love into a bargaining chip. And when he needed money for Robyn's house, Meri was already conditioned to give. Say no, and you're selfish. Say no, and you're not a team player. Say no, and you confirm every accusation ever made about you. That's the trap. And Meri walked straight into it, because refusing meant emotional annihilation. Because saying yes felt like survival. Janelle's manipulation looked different, but it was just as effective. With her, Kody leaned on logic, on responsibility, on long-term planning. He framed Robyn's house as temporary, as a stepping stone, as an investment that would eventually benefit everyone once Coyote Pass was built. He sold her a future that never arrived. And Janelle believed him because she always had. Because she trusted numbers. Because she trusted plans. Because she trusted that effort would be rewarded. Instead, she got an RV. And the pattern didn't stop there. As Robyn's house gained equity, Kody and Robyn began pulling money out of it. A home equity line of credit. An emergency loan. Debt stacked on top of wealth that wasn't originally theirs. And someone had to service that debt. Someone had to keep contributing to the family account. And for a long time, Meri and Janelle did. Even as their own financial positions deteriorated. This is what financial abuse looks like. It's not always loud. It's not always obvious. It's quiet, systematic, rationalized. The person taking convinces everyone else that it's necessary, that it's temporary, that it's fair. And by the time the truth surfaces, the damage is already done. And still, Robyn maintained her innocence. She claimed she never asked for special treatment, that she never wanted to be the favorite, that she just wanted peace. But peace doesn't require a mansion. Peace doesn't require other women sacrificing their futures. Peace doesn't require silence enforced by legal documents. What Robyn wanted wasn't peace. It was security. And she got it, at everyone else's expense. When the marriages began to collapse, the imbalance became impossible to hide. Christine left first, buying her own home, refusing to continue subsidizing a system that never served her. Janelle followed emotionally, even if she stayed legally tied for longer. And Meri lingered the longest. Not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't afford not to. Her only real asset was tied up in Coyote Pass. Leaving meant walking away from the one chance she had to recover what she'd already given up. That's what makes Kody's accusations so cruel. When he claimed Meri was greedy, he ignored the reality that she'd already given everything. When he suggested she wanted more than her share, he ignored the fact that she'd been living on less than her share for years. When he framed himself and Robyn as the ones who had been wronged, he erased the sacrifices that built their lifestyle in the first place. And then Meri spoke. Not emotionally, not defensively, factually, calmly. She said she'd been asked not to talk about it. She said she'd agreed. She said she'd protected the lie. And in that moment, the entire family mythology collapsed. Because healthy systems don't require silence. Fair arrangements don't depend on secrecy. Equality doesn't need NDAs. Robyn's reaction to the exposure said everything. Instead of acknowledging the imbalance, she doubled down on control. Instead of expressing remorse, she reached for legal tools. Instead of addressing the harm, she tried to contain the narrative. That's not confusion. That's intent. And once viewers saw it, they couldn't unsee it. Because suddenly, every past moment took on new meaning. Every time Robyn cried. Every time Meri was sidelined. Every time Janelle was told to wait. Every time Coyote Pass was dangled like a carrot that never quite came within reach. It wasn't chaos. It was strategy. Conscious or not, it worked. Until it didn't. Because silence only holds as long as the people keeping it believe it's protecting something worth saving. And once Meri realized she was protecting people who would happily destroy her reputation to save themselves, the silence lost its power. The truth doesn't need permission. And once it's spoken, it can't be taken back. By the time the truth was fully out, there was nothing left for Kody and Robyn to hide behind. No vague explanations. No carefully edited scenes. No talk of family culture or misunderstandings. The numbers didn't care about intentions. The receipts didn't care about feelings. And the years of denial collapsed under the weight of one undeniable fact. Meri Brown funded Robyn Brown's dream home and then paid the price for it in silence, isolation, and financial loss. What makes this revelation so devastating isn't just the money. It's the time. The years Meri spent stuck in a marriage that was already over. The years she couldn't leave because leaving meant walking away with nothing. Her Vegas equity was gone. Her future was tied to land she couldn't access. Her independence was postponed again and again while she waited for a payout that kept getting delayed. That's the real cost of financial manipulation. It doesn't just drain bank accounts. It steals years of someone's life. When Coyote Pass finally sold in 2025, Meri received her share. $375,000. On paper, it looked like a fresh start. In reality, it was partial reimbursement for what she'd already lost. Money she could have multiplied if she'd been allowed to keep her own equity. Money that came years too late. At 53, Meri was starting over financially, while Robyn walked away with $1 million lifestyle and the security of knowing she'd never have to rebuild from scratch. And Robyn didn't just benefit once. She benefited repeatedly. She took Meri's money. She took Janelle's money. She lived in a house whose value exploded. She pulled loans against that house. She stayed protected while other women absorbed the risk. And when the system finally began to unravel, she didn't respond with accountability. She responded with NDAs, with silence clauses, with attempts to control what could be said and who could say it. That alone tells you everything. Because people who believe they acted fairly don't fear transparency. People who think arrangements were equal don't panic when the details come out. People who truly value family don't try to legally silence the women who helped build their lives. The desperation to keep this quiet wasn't about avoiding drama. It was about avoiding exposure. And once exposed, the entire series looks different. Every argument about houses, every fight about money, every moment where Meri was portrayed as difficult or demanding, every time Janelle was framed as choosing instability, every tear Robyn shed while insisting she never asked for special treatment. It all collapses under the same question. If everything was fair, why did silence matter so much? Kody's role in this can't be overstated. He wasn't just complicit. He was the engine. He controlled the narrative. He controlled the money. He decided whose sacrifices mattered and whose didn't. And when the women who had given the most finally demanded fairness, he didn't reflect. He attacked. He labeled them greedy. He positioned himself as the victim. Because in his mind, obedience was love, and anything less was betrayal. That's why Meri speaking out is so powerful. Not because it embarrassed Kody and Robyn, but because it broke the final rule of the system. The rule